Hello, everybody. We are live today with Dr. Helene Simons. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Awesome. And we've got a great topic for you today. As you may have noticed, we're in this isolation stage with COVID-19. There's a lot of practitioners trying to figure out how they can continue to practice. And we've got some good news because we have sort of a specialist in the telehealth field here today. And we're going to do a little bit of an event preview for an in-depth training she's going to be doing next Friday right here on Sandstone Care's Facebook page. And today, we're going to take an in-depth look into using telehealth video conferencing in your therapy. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited about the event next week. I'm Dr. Helene Simons. I am a licensed psychologist and the founder of my group therapy practice, Simons Therapy, where we specialize in depression, anxiety, eating disorders, relationships, and substance use. There are three of us. We also do assessment, psychological, neuropsychological, and intellectual assessment as well. And so we have an office in Denver, Colorado, where we meet with people in person, but we also use telehealth to greater meet the needs of the community. I have been using telehealth in the practice for 2.5 years now and have had wonderful results. I think that it is just an incredible way to bridge care and really help people access services that they wouldn't normally be able to get. So it helps us serve the mountain towns, more remote areas of the state, really bringing specialized care specifically for eating disorders and other things to those pockets of the community. I've also found it to be an incredible way to help people who are local. You know, we all have busy lives. We have a lot going on with work, family, all kinds of things. And I don't know about you, but the Denver traffic has gotten pretty bad. So it's a great way to help people get their therapy services without having to spend 2 hours to make it to your office and have that appointment at the same time. So
I get that. And these practitioners, again, this is tough times. We need to figure out how to implement something to where we can continue in our practice. And we need to make sure it's HIPAA compliant. And there's a lot of things that we need to consider. So when we're going to talk about real quick some pros and cons of using telehealth and therapy, and specifically as they apply to COVID-19. So why don't you talk about the pros and cons?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the pros to telehealth is really being able to meet the needs of the community. Specifically with COVID-19, we are experiencing a situation that we have never experienced before. And with something like that is rapidly changing, it brings a lot of anxiety and instability into the community. People are facing anxiety with whether or not they're going to be able to have an income, whether or not they're going to remain healthy, whether or not they're going to be able to connect with people and see people that are important to them. And, you can feel the tension in the air. And so now more than ever, people are going to need mental health care. And we're going to have a responsibility to do what everybody else is doing and socially distance ourselves in order to prevent this from spreading across the country and across our communities. I don't know about you, but there are a ton of people who come through my office on a regular basis, even more people who come through the suite that I share with my office mates, and even more people who come through the high-rise building that I work in. We cannot control where people have been and what they're bringing in and out. And I think that we have a responsibility to protect our clients both with their physical health as well as their mental health. And telehealth is just an incredible way to make both of those things happen. And I will be speaking more about some other pros that are part of this in the presentation next week. There are some cons that I'll also be going into more depth about, the kind of red flags or risk factors that we want to look out for as we're navigating this territory. Part of that is that, we need to be HIPAA compliant. We can't really control everything that's going on the internet. People's security and confidentiality is obviously of our utmost importance. And it's our responsibility to protect that from them. And so there are some things that we need to be aware of in order to protect them in that way. And then there are some safety concerns too that will be important for us to talk about.
And I love it. And you told me that next Friday, you're also going to share some new things around HIPAA that
Yeah.
are going to possibly change what's going on. So share a little bit about that, and you're going to dive deep into it more next Friday.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. So, with everything that is going on with COVID-19, you can imagine that everybody is trying to do whatever they can to make care more accessible. So there are actually some things that are going on to loosen the reins, so to speak, on HIPAA compliance, specifically in response to COVID-19 for a temporary period of time. And so I will be talking about that too, and just different types of software that we'll be able to use in order to really help us meet the needs of the community as best as we possibly can.
That's awesome. And if you're joining us live or in the replay, we're doing an event preview for a virtual training that's going to happen right here on Sandstone Care's Facebook page next Friday, March 27th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that is a much deeper dive into what it takes to implement telehealth into your practice and do it the right way. And we're so happy to have you there to really take people through these steps. But I want to pull an audience question here. How has COVID-19 affected you and the audience? How is it affecting your practice? How is it affecting the way you're doing business out there? We would love to hear. And anything you sort of ask now or questions you ask now, it's something that Dr. Simons can talk about next Friday.
Absolutely.
So you've been doing it for a while. So how is telehealth being used across health fields in general?
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that in the presentation as well. I think it's really important when we talk about going into this territory that we don't just isolate and look into what's happening in mental health, but that we also look more globally at what's going on in different mental health or in different healthcare fields. So telehealth, it has been used and is being used in medical care throughout the country. It has been used in psychiatry. It's been used in a lot of different ways in order to help, give a greater access to care for a lot of people. And so that's something that we'll be talking about as well.
I love that.
Yeah.
So again, we're really happy that you stepped up. This was a last minute thing. We put this on the calendar for Sandstone Care because we knew this was important. We knew that there were practitioners out there that didn't have this figured out. And I love how you said they were going to be a little more lenient, because typically they'll give us a 2-year time frame of, you need to have this figured out in 2 years. Do what you need to do now. And if you don't by then, no big deal. But in this scenario, it's now. And we don't want to see people struggling or going out of business. And the information you're going to be sharing next Friday in this 2-hour presentation is going to be kind of nuts and bolts on all this stuff, right?
Absolutely. I think that's a good point. It's usually we are able to prepare for things. And this is kind of one of those, it's all happening now. We got to go with the flow and really get into it. And, unfortunately, part of this social distancing thing is that it's bringing a lot of disconnect and a lot of isolation. We have to keep ourselves apart. And I think if there's one thing to know about this and to learn from this presentation, this is our time to come together as a community. This is our time to share resources with each other and really teach each other about how to navigate these new waters and this new territory together. So,
and I love that you have that mentality, because that's why we had you come on, because we know you are going to give people the information they need to get started sooner, make less mistakes, because you're either going to be sharing what software you've been using, what's been going well, what hasn't been going well. So again, this virtual training is next Friday, March 27th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here at Sandstone Care's page. If you know a practitioner or someone that needs to implement this, or, share this, get this out there, make sure we have a good group there that can ask questions and can really learn a lot from this.
Absolutely.
So thanks so much for your time. And we will see you right here next Friday live, and we'll go over your presentation and we will be teaching. So thanks for your time today, and thanks for answering questions for everybody.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for next week. Please join me then. And best of luck in the meantime. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.